Thank you everyone for attending. This is our second or third talk in our technology grant called the Coyote Student Technology Scholars, and this was generously funded by the LTCC Foundation. If any faculty or staff, if you're interested in doing one of these grants, I encourage you to talk to Nancy Harrison, who is our director of our foundation. And these grants support student success initiatives ranging from buying equipment for the classroom, or in our case, supporting students with some gift cards, and also supporting speakers to give these talks, and we give them a small honorarium, and they put together a lot of great ideas. And so the focus of this grant is on technology and improving things like media literacy, as Melanie will be talking about on May 3rd. In the case of Amber today, we'll be talking about how technology skills are super vital in the workplace. And so this is really focused on students understanding what kinds of expectations are out there in terms of technology, all the different apps and tools that you can use, and how this might be a part of your future or current workplace. So we're excited about this grant. We're excited to have Amber Goligoski today talking about technology for the working world. So Amber, I will turn it over to you, and let me stop my share, and then you can start your share, if that sounds good.
Sounds good. Hi, thank you so much for having me today. I'm really happy to be able to present on this issue today, this topic. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. So I am the work-based learning coordinator at Lake Tahoe Community College. That means I handle all things where work is a part of your classroom. I really take the classroom knowledge that you've learned and help you apply that to the workforce and your job. We help you set goals and help you become a better employee, which will hopefully lead to different raises and job promotions and overall improvement of the quality of your life. I am going to go back one slide here real quick with a little basic meeting etiquette, especially just because this is a tech workshop. Please make sure you are muted unless you are talking. Raise your hand to ask questions. Keep the chat clean. We are all adults, but clean and respectful is important. And again, be kind, courteous, and flexible as you're chatting or discussing things related to the topic. This is a little information here on work-based learning and what I do. Again, it turns your workplace into your classroom. So you earn units based on the number of hours you work, and then we help you with some career exploration and professional development. Here are the topics we're going to go over today: career exploration, job searching, applying for jobs, tech on the job, remote work, and then project-based work. And those last two are pretty modern topics. We're going to talk a little bit about the way that the world of work is changing. First things first, career exploration and technology. As you are going through your education, you're going to want to find a way for your education to be applied in the workforce. So we have our career counselor, Nicole Bergner, who is available to help. Tahoe Career Connect is a local-based website that helps you explore careers and different routes through education as well, and different programs available in the area, not just at Lake Tahoe Community College, but at different educational institutions in the region. And then Advance, Learn, Earn, and Grow. They are supporting adult education in the community, and that goes with career exploration and upskilling, as well as providing funds for students and adult learners that want to advance in their career. Here I have a couple links, and we can make sure that you get those after the event. There is a personality assessment and a career assessment. So the personality assessment is linked. Pick work experience as your program area, as is described right here. And it goes through a series of questions and gives you some personality traits and careers those might apply to. So if you're kind and caring and generous with your time and enjoy teaching, that's going to lead you to teaching and coaching and maybe training, maybe human resources, maybe things that you haven't thought about on your career path that apply to things you may be interested in. So we have both of those. Both of those give you samples of careers. And then you can dig into things that are on this career and pathways support. Things like Road Trip Nation, where they interview professionals all over the country in different careers, and other assessment tools. Nicole Bergner and I both are more than willing to help you communicate with professionals in our community as well, that you could interview or talk to about different careers that are available. After career exploration comes the job search. That is changing. There's not a whole lot of just walking down the street and knocking on doors, pounding the pavement, as they say. Really, the job search starts online. That may be social media, maybe websites like Indeed or Monster, other websites like that. It might be more career specific and industry specific, like usajobs.gov. We tend to do a couple workshops a year on applying on usajobs.gov because it's very different than any other platform out there. It is a government application site, and they want every tidbit of information you can give them. So when we normally would say, hey, your resume should be 1, maybe 2 pages, they want 100. They want every detail of every job you've ever done. And don't you dare call Smokey Bear Smokey the Bear. You will get kicked right out of the platform. So networking and working with professionals in that specific industry to find out those details is really important. And again, I have Tahoe Career Connect up here. It's a local job search. It's a great way to find different positions or different industries that are available in our specific Lake Tahoe area. Applying for jobs. Found something you like, you want to apply for it. I always recommend that even if you're not fully qualified, you go ahead and apply. You never know who else is applying. You never know what qualities you may have that stand out that are important to an organization. So if you're close, if you're just missing one thing, or you don't quite have that degree yet, but you have tons of life experience or industry experience, I really recommend that you fill out that application. Build a network. Build a network of people, whether it is online or in person, within the industry you're working towards. Excuse me. Use LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great networking site for job searching for professionals. It also is a great tool when you are going through an application process. Many of the digital application platforms will pull your information straight from LinkedIn. What does that mean? It means you don't spend hours retyping or copying and pasting the information from your resume to the application. You hit one button and then you go through and edit and review. So it really does save a lot of time. It really is worth your time to get in there, update, and find some people within an industry to network with. Look for internships. Look for job shadowing opportunities. Learn from the people who have already been in your shoes. Resume. Super important. I will share out some tools for that for your resume. We have a resume builder tool and a resume how-to instruction guide that will really help you with that process. And this is where I go back to Nicole Bergner and the Career Center or myself, where we're more than happy to help you through that process. It can be really intimidating to try and write a resume. Less intimidating if you've been keeping it up to date. More intimidating if you have quite a bit of work experience, but you haven't had to submit a resume for your job applications in a while. So keep those up to date. Get your information on LinkedIn so that it is all in one place. And when you need that information, you can find it. Because when you start looking for the phone number or the job title of your boss from 10 or 15 years ago, it's harder to find than if you just keep it all together at once. And then interviewing. We've talked about going digital. This is another way to prepare. You might interview on Zoom, you might interview in person. Make sure you're communicating with whoever the hiring manager is through the process to make sure that you show up in the right place at the right time. And we have an interview guide as well. So I will provide that to anybody who's interested. And it goes through a whole checklist. It goes through common questions and has a ton of resources where you can find industry specific questions so that you can practice those, practice in front of the mirror, write them out. Come see Nicole or I. Again, we do mock interviews with students on a regular basis. Come by and we will do a mock interview and give you feedback on ways you can improve, and share some information on what may be industry specific interview questions. On the job, this is the big one. I'm going to go pretty deep into this here because there is so much going on in the world right now. Right now, there are tons of different platforms, and some of them are industry specific. Really, you need to communicate with your organization to find out what they're using and how they're using it. This goes deep into communication. This goes deep into communication styles and professionalism. When is it appropriate to communicate and how? Do you have the kind of organization where you're expected to be in contact 24 hours a day? And it's totally fine if you call or text your boss at midnight? Or are you the type of organization that is, 8 to 6, 9 to 5? What are normal business hours? When are you expected to be available, and when can you contact people within your organization? Are you using Slack or Microsoft Teams? Those are more instant messaging communication tools. A lot of organizations have gone to Microsoft Teams because they use the Microsoft suites. Slack is a more techie tool that is used by a lot of organizations that don't use some of the bigger platforms within Microsoft. It's a way to communicate. It's a way to split up your communication. So if only a part of your team is working on a certain project, you're not messaging out and using that reply all attitude. You can tag things so that you can go back and find them later. Again, it's that instant messaging without having to use somebody's phone. When they go on vacation, they can turn it off. They know that if something comes through there, it's business related. So if they're on family time, they may not answer. They can look at it the next morning or when they have appropriate time to do that. It does help split up the work and life components. As we work more from home, as things become more digital, work creeps more and more into our personal lives. And in some ways that's great because we can be flexible and we can be working from anywhere, but we can also be expected to work from anywhere. And that can create some issues, some extra stress. Again, I really emphasize communication and asking questions on this. Your organization may have a customer management system, a CMS, where you input your communication with clients and customers and keep all of their information. How do you keep that safe? How do you keep that data from getting stolen? What kind of IT department do you have to help control that and keep everybody's data secure? Make sure you understand that. What information can be shared and what information is private. Again, Microsoft, one of the biggest in the industry over here with Google, for your basic programs, your word processing, your spreadsheets, your presentations. What does your organization prefer you use? Are you familiar enough with both of them that if you go and apply for a job, you're comfortable using either one? Or do you need to hop on LinkedIn and take one of their classes? They have classes on how to use all of these tools. Lots of free online YouTube videos. You can, Google something and find out an answer and find it out really quickly. I really, really recommend this right here. If you don't know, ask. Don't be afraid to ask questions. but also make sure that you've done the research before you ask those questions. So if it's something simple, can you Google it? Can you Google it and say, is this how you would like this done? Or is this how I should be using this tool? Make sure you're educating yourself and taking the time to learn the tools. Email's one. We were just talking before this meeting about how email has changed. Email isn't the instant response that Slack or Teams might be. It's not that quick text message, that instant message. A lot of it is that our inboxes have gotten flooded with so much information and so much advertising. How you filter your emails. Do you have different folders? Do you have stuff that gets sent to spam because you know you're not going to read it? I keep a folder that is newsletters. That way, when I have time to sit down and read through some information on the industry, or if I'm looking for information on a specific topic within my industry, I can pop in and search my inbox. And there might be something that is current, a current article, a current podcast, things like that that I can look for. But what filters do you have set up on your email? What do you have forwarding? What do you have getting automatically deleted? Or is there anything that can be just sent to the trash because all you get from them is advertisements? I happen to love National Geographic, but they send out like 6 emails a day, and I can't have my inbox clouded with that. So I have a folder, and they automatically get routed that way. And again, when I have time over lunch, while I'm sipping on coffee, between meetings, waiting for an appointment, I can go to that and be entertained or find, relevant information that I'm interested in and catch up on reading that. Let's see. Oh, we can talk about Zoom here. Good old Zoom. It's wonderful. I love it. There are basic etiquette things. What does your background look like? Mine has changed since the beginning of the pandemic. I used to have a really cute background, all decorated and officey, and that got piled with books and papers and all of that. So we've gone to a basic curtain. We've gone very simple. Just think about what is in your background, what's around you, what noises are being made. Do you need headphones and a microphone? I have a headset right here that I use. It is nothing fancy. I think it was $10, but it works. And the microphone works without static. And so if I am working from home or the office and I need to drown out a little extra noise, I can put on headphones and really focus. Adobe Sign. This is a big one. And this is one that is having a lot of legal implications and changing the way that a lot of people do business. Being able to sign things digitally instead of needing what is called a wet signature, which is ink, wet ink. Things are getting signed digitally. So are you protecting your digital life? We hear a lot about identity theft. We hear a lot about that kind of thing. Is your Adobe signature authentic? Are you making sure that that's linked to an email account that you check, not your junk email account? I know a lot of us have an email account that we use when we sign up for ads and promotions so that that's what gets spammed with all the junk. But what are the rules on signatures for your organization and contracts, and what processing time is needed to get that done, to input those form fields and make sure it gets routed and all of that. Adobe Sign is a really good one to find a couple YouTube videos or a LinkedIn workshop to get a little information about. Because they are legal documents and it is a legal signature. And so you just need to make sure that you are reading the fine print just like you would any contract or any signature or any document that needed signatures because it is legally binding. And then point of sale system. Are you in the hospitality industry? Are you in retail? Do you have a point of sale system? Are you managing cash? How is that done? How does that need to balance? How do you run your reports? All of that all ties in. And then going back here to the G Suite, to Google, What can you do through Google, or does your organization prefer you use Microsoft? How do you share those documents? How do you track changes? How do you make comments on a document? All of those things. How do you keep a document safe so that other people can't change it? Can you lock it down? All of those become very, very important so that you are keeping your document safe so you don't lose all of your work. Do you have autosave on? That's a big one. Make sure things are being uploaded to the cloud, that things are being autosaved, so that when you get a power glitch, when your internet goes down, you have access to things that you need. There is a feature within the Google Suite where you can have things available offline. So do you have that set so that if you head to a meeting and you need a spreadsheet and the Wi-Fi is down, you can still get that information and still communicate? So I always say have a backup for your backup. We've learned a lot through the last few years as things have changed, and we've all had to adapt to the new technology. And then that technology stops working and we need another version. So just make sure, again, that there's a backup for your backup, and you have access to the information that you need before meetings or phone calls or, at school assignments. And I think we've covered everything there. Again, it's just the communication. I'm going to emphasize that over and over and over again throughout this workshop. Communicate with your organization. Ask questions, ask when you should be communicating, how you should be communicating, all of that, and err on the side of being more professional. So in some organizations, it's fine. I send gifts back and forth with my boss. I can react that way. I can use reactions. I can use abbreviations. But we've developed that relationship. It did not start that way. So don't be the first one to make a joke. Don't be the first one to cross that line. Wait for your bosses, your coworkers that have been there a little bit longer to set the tone for the sense of humor and for the things that are appropriate. And now we hop into the world of remote work. We're going to talk about working from home, telecommuting, and co-working. There are several different ways to work outside of an office. Are you working from a home office all the time? Or are you splitting your time between an office on site and an office at home? Telecommuting, can you sit in that hammock from anywhere and work? Or are you expected to be close enough to pop in for meetings on a regular basis? And then co-working, these are great new facilities that are popping up where you can rent office space, or while you're traveling, you can get a day pass and go in and have Wi-Fi and all these facilities that you need, a quiet place to work. Most of them have great snacks and conference rooms and phone booths. Really neat ways that you can work from anywhere. A lot of people that are telecommuting on a regular basis or working from home find that it can be really isolating. And so by joining a different co-working facility, we have several in town, you can get some of that networking. You can get some of that social interaction if your organization doesn't have a brick and mortar building office. You can see there's lots of different ways to work from home. We see pets and kids and all sorts of things in those photos. But make sure you have a workspace set up that is functional and healthy, that you've got a good chair, that you have a good keyboard, that you have that extra monitor if you need it. You don't want eye strain. We spend so much time in front of the computers. You don't want headaches. If you are getting headaches, have you tried blue light glasses? Is there anything you can do? Can you put a filter on your screen? Can you change it from light to dark? Can you change the lighting within your office in order to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, so you can keep working and so that you can enjoy your time off as well? Again, working from home is wonderful, but you need to find a way to do it efficiently. As students, I'm sure you've seen, when you're trying to do those online classes, there's lots of interruptions. Some organizations, that's totally appropriate and okay. And others, even though you're working from home, you are expected to be at your computer during those working hours. So again, that's a great place to ask questions. If you're getting a new job, ask questions during the interview and hiring process. What does remote work look like? Are there flexible hours? Does that mean it's okay to work from midnight to 4 a.m. because I'm a night owl? Or do I still need to be available for work from, 8 to 5, 9 to 6? What are the hours expected? Can I work from a co-working space? Can I work from anywhere? Am I allowed to travel? Depends on your industry, depends on your organization. Some places are saying, we don't care what hours you work, just get the job done. These are your job duties, just do it. Others are saying, oh no, we need to track your progress. We want to keep an eye on how much you're working. So you need to be in the office certain days, or you need to submit reports that show that, or you need to be available for phone calls and answering emails and messages during these specific hours. So the flexible world of work is amazing, but it also creates more opportunities for miscommunication. So make sure those expectations are clear when you're starting, or when things are pivoting and shifting, and you may be moving to remote work like we did a couple of years ago, for some reason or another, and make sure that you have clear expectations so that you can meet them. Project-based work. This is coming up with telecommuting and with co-working. It's contract-based, it's freelancers. So are you working project by project? Are you working for the same organization on short-term contracts? Scott mentioned that this program is funded by grants. A lot of grants have short-term grant funded positions. So it might be 6 months, it might be a few years, but it's not a career for 20 years. And we really rarely see that anymore. A long-term career with the same organization for 20, 30, 40 years is pretty rare. So, are you on one of these websites, Fiverr, Upwork, TaskRabbit, freelancing or freelancer, looking for projects? Are you helping people with resumes? Are you doing graphic design? Are you designing websites and you're designing them one at a time and freelancing? Or are you working for one organization? This is the project. This is the timeline. I'm going to work through that and then figure things out from there. These are, again, other places where setting expectations is really important. What are you willing to do for freelancing? What are your strengths? Build that portfolio so that you can share out that work. And, when it comes to budgeting and owning your own business and entrepreneurship, there are a lot of little nuances, a lot of things that you need to be aware of. So find a local organization, find your local small business association, find a co-working facility where there are a lot of freelancers, ask questions, find a mentor, and really find the support within the community that you will need to succeed. It is a different style of work. Most of the freelance and short-term contract work is a lot more flexible, which is great if you are self-motivated. But if you need somebody to help manage your time, to check in with, and to help you prioritize, it may not be the right thing for you. You might be somebody that needs more of that daily interaction and that long-term stability. If you don't know where the next check's coming from, you have to budget differently. You have to always be selling yourself and always be looking for that next project. And so it's really important that you understand that about those industries and that you do your research and talk to people that are in those industries that can help you be successful. Again, I'm going to go through a couple slides here that are all about communication, because I know this is a technology workshop, but your key to success in any organization is going to be professional communication and understanding expectations. You can't do the job if you don't know what the job is. So really, it's about, you can see the Tony Robbins quote down here, the ways we perceive the world, and use understanding as a guide to our communication with others. We need to understand what other people's perceptions of how we are talking or how we are presenting ourselves might be. Just like, it's not appropriate to show up to a job interview in a swimsuit with headphones around your neck wearing flip-flops. I say that because I have seen it in my years in the hospitality industry. Just because a restaurant is casual doesn't mean your first impression should be in board shorts and a hoodie. You want those impressions to be perceived as professional. Listening. We're talking a lot about talking and communicating. The other key to communication is listening. Making sure that you are clarifying and summarizing after conversations. Do you send a follow-up email or message saying, I want to make sure that I understand this? Really make sure that you're listening. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So you should be listening twice as much as you are speaking in order to understand company culture and in order to understand expectations. And then when it comes to communication, respect is key. Ask questions. And I've just put up here some gender neutral terms to address a group. We need to realize that not everybody is the same as we are, and we need to respect our differences. And so you can see my pronouns were on my introduction slide. I use she, her, hers. Not everybody does that may fit into what was stereotypically female or male. And we need to understand that we need to respect people for who they are. And we don't know who they are unless we ask. So just make sure that we are RESPECT, showing respect to everybody around us for who they are. And here is a slide with my contact information. One thing I was going to talk about is my headshot here. This one here, much more casual than the first headshot I showed you. First one, fall day, out in front of the college, professionally taken, poised. I use that in a very professional setting. But I also work for a community college in a mountain town. We love the outdoors. One of our main industries and main disciplines at our college is wilderness and outdoor leadership. And family is my priority. So I've got my little bug in that picture there, and it's taken at Yosemite out at, where is that one? Tunnel View. That was taken out at Tunnel View. You see El Capitan in the background. And so think about how your headshots, your resumes, all of those things, all of your social media are going to be perceived. Because that is a really big deal in the industry. Nothing goes away when it comes to the internet. It can almost always be found somewhere once you put it up. So just make sure that you're using technology and respecting it, and just make sure you're communicating, being respectful, and respecting the technology as well as people. I'll go ahead and stop sharing here. So that is all I have for today, unless there are any questions or anything that you feel like I didn't include. Solange.
Would it be okay if you could discuss a little more first impressions and how you dress, even online, how you present yourself with your background, with your clothes, in-person interview? I have an interview today at 2:00. At a golf course. How do I dress?
So I always say err on the side of dressing up. If you are interviewing, whether it is in person or online, you want to be conservative and you want to be professional. Not every job requires a suit and tie. If you are applying for food and beverage at a golf course, or you're applying for groundskeeping, that's going to be a little different. But you want a button-up collared blouse or shirt. You want slacks or a nice skirt, some nice shoes. Don't go in there unless you're, expected to show them your golf skills because you're applying for, a golf pro job. Then yeah, you want to show up in your spikes and your khakis and your polo shirt with your clubs slung over your shoulder. But in general, make sure you're dressing in a way that would be fitting for the organization. So golf course, polo shirt, other collared shirt, nice blouse, and, some nice slacks or a skirt of some sort, with comfortable shoes. Probably not tennis shoes. You're going to want some flats, some Mary Jane, something a little bit dressier, some sort of a nice dress shoe.
It's snowing today. I might have to wear my ski pants and boots.
Uh-oh.
But I will wear a really nice sweater with it, So,
there you go. And it depends what golf course it is. It depends if you're trudging through the snow to get in. If we've had some nice weather, so luckily the snow's not super deep. It'd be a little different if we were in the middle of the December storms. If we were in the middle of the December storms and we're getting feet on feet and you're still expected to, go across town and show up for an in-person interview, yeah, you're going to wear boots.
yeah.
But you're not necessarily going to wear work boots. You're going to wear a nicer pair of boots, something that's fitting. Again, the nicest you have. We're not expecting you to go out and spend hundreds of dollars to interview for a position that's going to pay you $15 an hour.
Right.
But, show up early, be ready to go. If possible, bring a second set of shoes or, find a way to make that work, to make that first good impression. And again, some of it depends on the job.
I was curious, Solange, when you're doing, because you have all this work experience, when you're doing a sound gig on a movie or sound studio, like, do you dress up formal or is it very casual?
Can you do that?
Well, we work in a very casual environment,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to wear a hoodie to an
Yeah.
interview.
Mhm.
So when I'm meeting someone for the first time, knowingly, like on the dub stages, when we're actually mixing a movie, we dress up.
Wow.
We dress up for the stages. We dress down for the editing room and dress up for the stages.
Okay.
So the way I would go on an interview with a supervisor, I would dress up.
That reminds me of when I worked at Astroworld, I was a trainer, and we always talked about the front and the backstage, and we always said to all employees, myself included, we had to have our uniforms on, whether that was, when the guests see us on the front stage, whether that was a costume character or one of our themed outfits. And then in the backstage, if you're eating at the employee canteen, you could let your guard down. So I think a lot of what I've learned from Amber over the years is, you always have to think about that impression. And then I think the impression changes depending on where you're meeting clients, if you're backstage or front stage, as we call it in the theme park industry. So it's just really good tips, I think, to remember that it changes, right? Depending on where you're at and who you're talking to.
Yeah.
I went for a job fair,
Mm-hmm.
okay, over at Heavenly Valley.
Mhm.
And I didn't dress up, but I wore a nice sweater, and a pair of black pants. And it really does make a difference with first impression, because how I presented myself was totally up and bubbly and inquisitive and caring and kind and all this stuff. I was hired on the spot.
Wow.
They hired me that day.
Yep.
It was hilarious. So, but then you got jobs that wear uniforms. How do you go to an interview when you're going to be in a uniform? Well, you're not going to be interviewed in uniform.
Mhm.
So you have to make that decision on what you're wearing as your first impression. You only get one chance for a first impression.
Right. And business casual. Again, you're talking a nice blouse or button-up shirt, slacks or a skirt, and professional shoes. And again, err on the side of caution. Make sure your clothing is clean and pressed. make sure your shoes are shined. Um, make sure that you're groomed and clean and following, overall hygiene. But don't go in there having taken a cologne shower. Don't douse yourself in scents. You never know who might be allergic or be offended by that.
Right.
Be aware of the people around you. Be aware of the fact that how you treat everybody from the time you leave your house to the time you get home will affect your opportunities within that organization. You never know who you're going to see in the parking lot or in traffic. And if you're racing to an interview because you didn't allow enough time and you cut somebody off in traffic, you don't know who that is. That could be somebody from the organization you're headed to work for. And what perception will they have of you if you ran that red light? Or if you came flying through the parking lot and, weren't watching for people and weren't being cautious and paying attention to detail and all of that. It
reflects.
It does. It really
reflects,
does.
Yeah.
And even if they don't see you necessarily, it'll show in your attitude. It'll show that you're rushed. It'll show
you're not good time management. Your time management's crucial.
Right. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I find that in class with an online class, they have got to have time management skills because in my class, the assignments are every week. Every week you have an assignment that is due that has to be submitted, and time management is crucial.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Keeping a calendar, and I sometimes tell my students that, I have somewhere here, I have my paper calendar because I sometimes like to just see the big picture, and then I have my iPhone calendar. And then what's cool about phone calendars is, I love how you can customize. Again, this is the technology. You can customize for the task or the group. So if there's something going on with our cats, I can share that just with my wife, and then my employer doesn't see, because sometimes, like if you don't have your calendar settings right, your employer might see, something that maybe is not appropriate for them to see. So using those different calendars, the home, the work, the different workplaces, like if you do the freelance stuff, and I find that super effective, and it's color coded. So the time management, I think, can really improve if you use some of the technology that we have available.
Yeah. And, I didn't go deep into calendars, but my calendar is my life. And I use my Outlook calendar and my Google calendar for everything.
Right.
My mother-in-law used to give me a really hard time because I was like, if it's not on my calendar, it's not happening.
Right.
I will not remember it. It is not going to be a priority. Like, it has to be on my calendar in one way or another. And I agree with you, Scott, on those privacy settings. There is a way to keep an event private. So I do a lot through my work calendar, but my organization does not need to know that my daughter has a swim lesson at 11 o'clock on Saturday, or that she has soccer on 4:30 on Monday. It fits within, my working hours. They are around my working hours, but they don't know need to know if it's a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment or a vet appointment. If I have appropriate time off, those are private. Those are family events. That's a family occurrence or a family event, and it stays private on my calendar, but the time is blocked off. And I can set reminders, and they automatically show up that, tomorrow I have a deadline for that major project. I should probably make sure that, I'm getting going on that. Use it for your assignments or your projects. Set deadlines, set goals, put them on your calendar, and set reminders for them.
Great. Well, I was going kind of do one question on technology for the students who are maybe watching, and I took some notes. I thought you're really emphasizing that technology is everywhere. It down to how you create your headshot, to which apps to use, how to communicate with people. it's constantly changing. Like we've all, even before the pandemic, I think we realized work is constantly changing. And then I sort of got out of it. There's the right tool for the right situation. So when you use LinkedIn versus, another social media site. So I guess a question for you, Amber, is if I'm watching this as a student, I'm like, whoa, I need to know a lot. I'm constantly having to up my tech game as things change. What recommendation do you have for me if I'm just like, I'm fearful? I'm like, how am I going to learn all this? I've got to learn 20 different apps or technologies or websites. So how do you make that manageable so you're not going crazy saying there's just too much technology I have to learn for this job that I'm interested in or that I'm doing?
Take it one step at a time.
Mm.
Find one little thing that you can do. Take bigger goals. I need to learn how to use Microsoft Excel and break it down into smaller pieces. I need to learn how to create a document. I need to learn how to edit a document. I need to learn how to enter a formula. I need to learn how to save the document. I need to learn how to share the document. All of those are little things that you can do that make it a little less intimidating, make those bigger goals, oh my gosh, I need to learn the whole Google suite.
Mhm.
Okay, no, I need to learn how to create a document and share it. I need to learn how to create a folder in my Google Drive. I need to learn how to categorize my photos. All of those are very small pieces of the puzzle.
Mhm.
And can easily be found on YouTube or within Google Help of step-by-step instructions. And then there's organizations like Advanced Adult Education in our community or the community college that offer, LTCC Connect, that offer courses on how to do some of this. So if there is a lot of technology that you're intimidated by or don't understand, it's probably time to go ahead and take a course and have somebody help set that those lesson plans for you and walk you through it. And then you also have somebody who's professional that you can ask questions to and can help you understand the ins and outs of the different platforms.
Those are wonderful suggestions. I'm thinking too with Solange here that, we haven't even talked about on-the-job technology. So if you're working in film or audio or video production, not only do you have to know everything you talked about for the professional kind of overarching stuff, but then, Solange, in your industry, you're talking multiple forms of technology. So I think it depends on the job.
The only way that you can get work on a feature film is to go to school.
Mm.
When I got in the film industry, we were 35 millimeter film and you learned on the job.
Yeah.
But the technology today is so severe that you have to go to school. If I'm going to hire an editor, the first thing I'm going to ask them is, where did you go to school? Where did you get your training?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to hire the editor who has formal training than the editor who taught himself.
Yeah.
Yep. And with that formal training that they got all that technology they need for whatever they're doing on the film. So
Correctly.
Yeah.
Not
Correctly.
only do they get the technology, they do it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference.
Yeah. I think just important issues. And again, with all the changes happening in the world of work, I just think the technology is not going away. So it's great for us to just continue to up our game and to do all the stuff that Amber talked about in terms of learning and staying on top of things and asking questions, too, like about how to use. Like I have questions. I've been in the workforce for decades, and I still, before this call, I said, at some organizations, if one group of workers, a team is using one suite or one technology and another group is using another, how do you get those to communicate? So the stuff never goes away, and I feel like we're always having to think about how to collaborate and use the technology skills or the applications, the websites to their best effect, I guess, on us and the workforce. So
the other thing is that the technology is ever changing.
Yeah.
You've got to keep up with the changing technologies. Zoom is constantly upgrading their app.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really interesting that you have to constantly get these upgrades and you have to learn them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I'm one of those that dreads those automatic updates. Every time my phone tells me I need a system update, I'm going to push it out till the absolute last minute until they make me do it. But it is really important to learn how to navigate those new tools when it comes to work. Luckily, I don't use my phone much for work, so it doesn't affect that.
Yeah.
But I have had to learn how to use Canvas. You know, I've gone from having students email me assignments to uploading them to Canvas, to sharing videos, to allowing different types of assignment submissions. Because technology is changing and students think in different ways. And so, you know, there are assignments now that I only accepted in writing before that I allow students to do a presentation or do a recording or submit it in a different way, because it's important to learn to navigate those tools. And they're learning something different by submitting it in a different media than just a Word doc.
Amber, I have a student, I had office hours today, and I had a student who's actually looking for work. She's graduating in June, and she is not sure on how to go about looking for work. She wants to work at one of the 3 nurseries here in town. But we talked about it a little bit, but since this is what you do, can I send her to you?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, please do. I'm happy to work with any student. And if it's not an area of my expertise, I will always refer them to Nicole, who's our career counselor on campus. LTCC finally hired a academic counselor that has a career focus and is really helping students explore careers and get ready for jobs. So
Okay.
yeah, I'd be happy to work with any student on campus to help them with, you know, whether it's LinkedIn or resume or job skills prep or just career exploration, and what organizations are available in the area, when do they hire, what skills do they look for. You know, every resume should be tailored to a specific job. You're not going to write your resume and then just not touch it. You're going to change those keywords for things that are in the job description you're applying for. And so,
Right. I don't want to put
do that.
I don't want to put Heavenly Valley for a movie I'm trying to get.
Right.
Unless it's a Warren Miller movie.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
It's a ski movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was just going to say for students watching, since we're talking about careers, be on the lookout. If you're watching this video, just check the Coyote Corner app. If you're on campus, look at the big media board, because I know Nicole will do more workshops, career-related workshops, and those are great. Just like today's, just make sure you attend and you'll get some great tips. I get tips from these workshops, and I've been working for years, so I just really encourage all the students to continue to look out for this great information. So, well, Amber, thank you so much today for this workshop. It was wonderful. I'm just so excited that we could have you talk about all these great tips about technology and careers and being professional in the workplace. I think we all learned a ton. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes.
Well, thank you for including me. I'm happy to share my little bit of knowledge. I always learn a lot from these workshops as well. So I'm happy to share what I've learned from the industry.
Great.
Yeah. I appreciate you, Amber. Thank you.